Now I want to talk about the improvements when it comes to dimensional constraints. So to apply my constraint, I'm going to pick my line, and in the pop-up I have my constraint icon. I'm going to go ahead and click that, and notice I get my dimension. Now if I right mouse click on that, you'll see I can turn that to a reference. I can do a horizontal measure direction, vertical measure direction. I can fix it, or I can position the dimension. Or if I don't want any of that, I just click to create the dimension. As soon as I place the dimension down, 3DEXPERIENCE takes me into the modification of the dimension. I no longer have to double click on the dimension to activate the modification of said dimension. We'll go to 100 and hit enter. I'm going to do this again. I'm going to pick this line up here, go into constraint, place the dimension, and again note it goes directly into the modification. I don't have to double click. It's as if CATIA knows you want to modify the dimension you just created. Pretty smart stuff. Now, other ways you can modify these dimensions is if I wanted to change this and enter in the value, I come over here and pick just once. I don't have to double click on it. By single clicking on it, it takes me into that length parameter. Once again, you'll notice I get driven mode. I can deactivate it, and I go into formulas right from here if I want to. Or if I double clicked on it, it takes me into the menu that drives that dimension. So I can reconnect it. So if I came in here and said that I want this, right, these are the elements for the inputs. Maybe I want this to be connected to something else. Note that it jumps over to the other line. So you just click in the element and click on the element that you want, or inputs and then element that you want. In the olden days, I would have to hit the reconnect and pick the item that I wanted it to reconnect to. Let me go ahead and grab this and drag this down so we can see what's going on. Now, other ways you can modify the dimension. If I hover over the top of the dimension, I'm not picking it, I'm just hovering over the top of it. You'll notice I get a second set of arrows on the outside. Those arrows allow me to grab the arrow and drag the dimension to where I want it to go and release it. You'll note that the dimension is now modified. So if I want to roughly get an idea of where something goes, I can just grab and drag. So I'll come over here, I'll do the same thing. I'll hover, grab that arrowhead, drag, and drop. And I've modified my dimension. Once again, I want to apply a dimension. This time, instead of grabbing a line, I'm going to grab this line and hold the control key down, this line, selecting those two elements to create a distance dimension between them rather than a length of the line. We'll go into constraint and place the constraint. Again, it automatically goes right into the modification of that dimension. Enter in my value, and there it is. Now, if I double click on this, just want to show you the menu looks a little different. I have my components that it's linked to. So again, if I want to switch those components, I can pick on the component and pick the new component. I also have the swap location button here. So if I want to swap the direction that the dimension is going in, I can do that swap location there as well. Now notice when I go into the length, you'll see that there's no swap location on this one because it's a single element. Okay, so there are differences between the dimension, just like it is in V5, but where you access these tools, slightly different. I think it's pretty smart, those changes. Okay, so I have those abilities. And I'm a big fan of being able to drag and let's do this. There we go. Those arrowheads to manipulate that dimension the way that I want. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and put in a corner. Just one corner. If I came in here and do a 30, hit enter, right, just like I did the other. So if I want to change this, I can grab that. You'll note, grab the arrowhead, and it manipulates it. So you'll see, again, the hovering of, well, as soon as I hover over the top of it, you'll see that additional arrowhead appear, indicating that you can grab that, drag it, and drop it. If you don't see that arrowhead, that additional non-filled arrowhead there, then you cannot drag and drop the way that I just did. So the dimensions, these dimensions that I'm placing, they are driving the geometry, but they also allow you to manipulate the dimension by simply grabbing that arrowhead, dragging and dropping. So I'll go ahead and draw in this. Let's go here. I'm going to pick this, hold the control key down, pick that, go into constraint, place my angle, we'll say 30. So now, once again, same thing. I can grab that, drag it and drop it. I can grab this side, try to drag it and drop it. You'll note that the other side gets manipulated, and the reason why that happens is because right over here, I have that horizontal constraint. Okay, so let's go back to 30. There we are. And place my dimension. So there are some things you have to watch out for when you are making these modifications. So if the line is fixed, that line cannot be moved unless you remove the thing that's fixing it, like in this case the horizontal. This is the line that's going to move. That's the motion line. So that's the side that you're going to have to grab, drag, and drop. Okay? So again, very, very nice little usability improvements, things to make things happen faster.